Hello everybody, Maven here, and there's a build that I've been sitting on for the longest time, the Verity Lightning God build. And it's been missing one key ingredient for so long, and that is an arc machine gun with the demolitionist perk. And so I've tried for the longest time to get the Terminus Horizon machine gun from Spire the Watcher to drop with demolitionist and adrenaline junkie, but it was borderline impossible to farm because the encounters were long and the drop rate was terrible. And after 239 clears, I could not get this thing. But now we have a new arc machine gun that's much easier to get and a heck of a lot better. And that is the Song of Verity from the Crota Zen raid. And I even thought of doing an entirely separate video just to review the Song of Verity because it's so good that it might as well just be an exotic. But I decided to skip that and go straight to this build. So let's break it down. Don't forget to drop a like and I hope you enjoy. So as mentioned, our exotic choice here is the Verity's Brow. When you get elemental final blows with a weapon matching your subclass element, which in this case is Arc, we get stacks of death throws, stacks up to 5 times, each stack lasting 10 seconds that is refreshable on final blows. And when you have 5 stacks, you effectively double your grenade damage and regeneration rate, not only for you, but for your teammates as well. So as you can see here in this clip against Carl, it takes 3 rockets from a Guttural Hothead to kill him. So that puts into perspective how much damage we're doing with this Death Throws Pulse Grenade plus a single Witherhoard shot also being able to take down Carl. And by the way, this is also without Spark of Magnitude. And Witherhoard is such a great weapon for this build because Spark of Shock is making our grenade jolt the enemy, and Witherhoard's damage over time is periodically triggering jolt, effectively increasing our DOT effect. But it doesn't stop there because death throws also increase your grenade regeneration rate, so we're going to do a little side-by-side comparison with and without death throws, and you can clearly see the difference. Death throws is much faster. But when it starts to run out, you can see it kind of evens out. But in a realistic situation, you're going to keep those death throws going and you're not going to run out of it halfway through. So you're effectively pretty much doubling your grenade regeneration rate if you keep up those death throws. And remember, your teammates are getting this regeneration as well. So you can see the value that Verity's Brow brings to the table, and that is why we desperately wanted an arc machine gun demolitionist, and we finally got the Song of Verity with demolitionist and the brand new perk Sword Logic. So Sword Logic is a very interesting and very strong damage perk. It's definitely the one you want to go for in this column. So it stacks up to 4 times depending on the tier of enemy you kill. So for example, you kill a miner like a red bar, you're going to get a 15% damage buff for 5.5 seconds. And when you kill an elite, aka an orange bar, you're going to get ×2 Sword Logic, which is a 25% damage buff for 7.5 seconds. And when you kill something like a major, an ultra, a champion, you're going to get a ×3 Sword Logic buff, which is a 35% damage buff for 10.5 seconds. And finally, when you kill something coded as a boss, you get 4 stacks of Sword Logic, which is a 50% damage buff for 15.5 seconds. Now, something to note about Sword Logic, and the reason why it's so good, is no matter how many stacks you have, like if you have 2, 3, or 4 stacks of Sword Logic, you're always going to refresh it to that timer and that buff on final blows. Like if you have ×4 for killing a boss, but then you go and slay out killing miners, you're going to refresh that timer up to 15.5 seconds and 50% damage every single time. Once you obtain that stack, you can maintain that stack. That's why Sword Logic is so good. But it doesn't stop there for the Song of Verity because it also has access to the brand new and very powerful Curse Thrall origin trait, which by the way is even stronger this season because of this artifact mod here, which improves the duration of it. So Curse Thrall, when you get a melee kill, it's going to make all of your final blows make your enemies explode, such as the Necrochasm perk, except you don't have to hit crits, you can kill with body shots and it'll still do the thing. So here's a little demonstration. It's kind of like built-in Dragonfly that you don't have to get crits for. It's incredibly powerful. So this is just icing on the cake that helps it out even more for ad clear. But anyways, now we have to talk about how we are able to get our grenade every like 2 to 5 seconds, as you saw during some of the intro gameplay. Obviously, one of the ways is going to be the demolition perk with the Verity's Brow, but let's go over every single other way. And where do I even begin? There are so many methods of obtaining grenade energy with this build. So I would say our main method is going to be this mod setup here, which is going to be charged up, so we can hold up to 4 stacks of armor charge and then stacks on stacks. So if any method gives us armor charge, we get 2 of it instead. So you pair that along with elemental charge with the fact that this subclass can generate a stupid amount of ionic traces, and it's extremely effortless to be able to get up to the 4 stacks of armor charge. And then we expend that on grenade kickstart and just get a boatload of grenade energy back immediately. And then our rifts are going to be proccing bomber, and we have innervation, so whenever we grab orbs, we're getting some grenade cooldown, and we're scooping up all the orbs via powerful attraction, and we're making even more orbs via spark of, what is it called, amplitude. So rapidly defeating targets while we are amplified makes an orb of power. So there are just orbs everywhere, and everything that we do with this build is making ionic traces because of electrostatic mine. Defeating targets with arc abilities, defeating jolted or blinded targets creates an ionic trace. Spark of ions, defeating jolted targets creates an ionic trace, and we're jolting targets with spark of shock. Spark of discharge makes our arc weapons also have a chance to generate an ionic trace, which is another great thing about getting the Song of Iruyut. So it's ridiculous the amount of energy we get, not only for our grenade, but also for our rifts and our melees as well. Speaking of our melees, we also have impact induction, so we get that melee hit. It also gives us a chunk of grenade energy. Just everything we do is just spewing out grenade energy everywhere. So I'll show you this little demonstration here with 4 stacks of armor charge. We toss our nades, slap down a rift to proc bomber, and we pretty much just immediately get a grenade back. And that is without even counting things like demolitionist, death throws, traces, innervation, impact induction. That is just kickstart and bomber, 2 of the many things contributing to our grenade cooldown. So you combine everything I just mentioned, and that is how we're able to get a grenade like every 2 to 5 seconds. It's insane how easy it is to get your grenade back with this build. But it doesn't even stop there. I know I just hyped up Song of Iruyut because it's basically our primary with this build. It's what completed the Storm God build. But our main demolitionist weapon is actually the iterative loop. So fusion rifles and shotguns with demolitionist or pugilist work differently than other weapon types. Because of the weapon types they actually generate 20% ability energy back on final blows with those given perks. And this one is even craftable, so you can enhance demolitionist, so you get 22% grenade energy back on final blows. So I'll show a little clip of gameplay, and I mean, the gameplay speaks for itself, honestly. Like, the iterative loop is just kind of wild for a grenade recharge. Like 1 or 2 final blows and you just completely get your grenade back. It should never take any more than that. And we're also pairing this along with enhanced lead from gold, so we get a bunch of special ammo whenever we pick up a heavy brick. And this is why we're pairing it along with heavy ammo finder, because even those finder bricks are going to grant us a ton of special ammo with lead from gold. That is effectively how we're able to run double special, no problem. And for the rest of our mod setup here, because we're running double arc weapons, we're running a copy of arc reserves. Now, depending on the threat modifier, you can put whatever resist it is. We also have bolstering detonation to get rift energy back on grenade tags, and then grenade final blows will give us super energy from ashes to assets, and I believe that that is everything. And for our stats here, obviously since this PvE run, 100 resilience, and because it's a grenade build, 100 discipline, minimum of 3 intellect, minimum of 4 strength, because those are the low end sweet spots, and then invest the rest into recovery if you can. And for the rest of our subclass here, I believe I went over everything. You can use whichever melee ability you like, but I prefer chain lightning. It's just a preference thing. And then arc buddies, of course, they're just super good. They hit like a truck, and also they help out electrostatic mine because our arc abilities will generate ionic traces, and you know, that's an arc ability, so it works out pretty well. Now for the gameplay loop of this build, I'd say start with a nade and then slap down your rift to proc bomber, and then you just slay out with your demolitionist weapons. And whenever you get the chance to throw out your ball lightning or chain lightning melee ability, go ahead and do that because it procs impact induction, and that should get the loop of armor charge going with elemental charge, stacks on stacks, charged up. And you should just be spamming grenade kickstart over and over at that point, just spamming your nades. So yeah, this build outputs an incredible amount of damage and also helps out your teammates with the arc buddies and the Verity regeneration buff. You can easily use this build in end game content like Grandmaster Nightfalls, no problem. It's incredibly powerful. And I'm so glad that this build is finally complete, because this arc machine gun is a saving grace that we needed. So I encourage you to give it a try if you are a Warlock main. And if you have any buddies who are Warlock mains as well, I'd appreciate it if you share this video with them. I'm sure they'd find it enjoyable. And if you'd like to try this build out, there is a dim loadout link to this build down below in the description and also in the pinned comment. And if you enjoyed the video, I'd appreciate it if you drop a like and leave a comment, because interacting with a video like that really helps out the algorithm, so it really means a lot. And if you are new here, please consider subscribing. We'd love to have you here. And with that, I will catch you in the next video. See you later.